This is Freedom Radio broadcast brought to you by Sherilyn Fletcher Ministries. I'm so excited that you are able to join me tonight. Now you might be saying, well, where is Sherilyn Fletcher? She don't look like she's in her normal studio. Well, you guessed it right. Today has been an awesome day. I'm thanking God for the 28th, and I'm excited about my guest, and you'll get to meet her in a few minutes. But today I was just, I had to travel today, y'all, but I could not miss the opportunity of coming on and speaking with you guys, even though I had to travel. So I say, even if I have to do it in my car, at the grocery store, I have to get it done because I am excited about this radio broadcast on today. I'm going to introduce you a very special young lady to me. Tonight, our topic is the Joshua generation. And so tonight, I have my special guest, Sharita Murphy. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to just say hi, tell them about yourself, let them see beautiful Sharita Murphy. Introduce yourself for us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Apostle, for your invitation and for allowing me to join you on the broadcast. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. Again, I am Sharita Murphy. I am a woman of God, chosen and set aside for His purpose. I have been saved for more than 10 years, definitely. Of course, it's been an interesting time with the Lord because He has done so many things for me and continues to do so many things for me and afforded me life at this very moment. When I know it's sometimes cliche to say that I could have been dead multiple times, but He has spared me thus far. I am a divorcee and a mother of 3 wonderful children. My oldest is 24 and my youngest is 16. I have a 22-year-old son as well, 2 boys and a girl. The girl is a 16-year-old. And in my professional career, I am an insurance practitioner. I work in the general field area, so I do not do life and health, but I'm general in a sense that is property, car, commercial, etc. And as regards church, I have recently been appointed director at my church of the Youth Fine Arts and Dance Ministry. Previously, I was just in charge of the fine arts at a previous church, and my walk with the Lord has been interesting to say the least. That's
awesome.
me.
Awesome. Well, welcome. I mean, you give us the whole tea. We get the whole tea.
The whole scoop.
We are the whole soup. I mean, listen, nothing. Don't worry about where I'm at. I'm incognito. I just want you to invite someone, share this broadcast, because Freedom Radio broadcast about
Sorry, Apostle. I'm not sure if it's me or not. You're lagging just a bit. Okay.
I think that's me. That's me. Yeah, that's me.
So
I'm
sorry.
laggy today, but we're gonna get through it.
Yes,
I'm
I didn't hear
traveling,
all of
so
what
you
you were trying
guys
to
just
say.
be. Oh, I was saying your name is Sharika. You, but who is Madam Speaker? That's the same Sharika, but that's still a pet name I gave her, Madam Speaker. Okay.
I
All
don't even
right.
know when
So
that
we're gonna
stopped.
get right into this because I don't know, and it just stuck in everyone, Madam Speaker, and I
Yes.
mean, they don't even try to get your name. Just Madam
No.
Speaker is it, But I'm so excited to have you on tonight. I really am. I'm excited, and it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. And I want to also say thank you from those from the 242, because I know you representing. You always represent, and I love you guys. Y'all are awesome. I can't say it. And those of you from Brevard County, the 321s, welcome, and from wherever you are watching around the world. So I want to we want to get right into it, but we want to talk about our young people. A lot of times, Madam Speaker, we leave out the young people. We talk about all of it. It's all about us, and sometimes we put the children in the back somewhere, and let them. I want to get to the place where we are able to hopefully challenge and provoke and encourage parents to really just do a little more, so that our children and our children's children can know the way. Growing up, before I get into it, my mother, listen, I had to go to church. It was no excuse, Madam Speaker, no excuse. Sick, and I said, Mommy, I don't want to go because I'm sick. My mom will say, well, you know what? That's a good place to be. I can pray for you that you get your healing. So
Yes.
it was not. If I had homework, she'd say, whatever it was, no excuse. Actually, nothing I could have given my mother at that time. And so I want us to get to the place of where let's get into this. Now, our first question, and this is gonna be, we may be mashing some corn. And so again, if you're just tuning in, I want you to please share this broadcast, like it, give us a comment, give us a thumbs up, and you can feel free to, let me put my number so you all could call in. I want you all to call in. You can feel free to call in, okay, and share your point of view with us, and to share with us, okay? Okay. Now, I think I'm hearing a feedback. If I don't hope we can't open no Facebook, Madam Speaker. So your Facebook open. If you have any of those open, you might have to close it because it can give you a feedback, and I'm gonna sound like. Okay. So our first question for tonight: do you feel the church? Okay. Do you feel the church is doing a good job in providing a platform for the Joshua generation? What is your question? Those of you that are listening, you could give us your little stuff down. Just message, or you could give me a call. Okay. So my speaker, let's hear your Joshua generation for the millenniums.
Okay. Yes, and just in case persons are not too necessarily familiar with the Joshua generation, when we talk about Joshua, we know who Joshua is in the Bible, of course.
Yes.
Joshua and Caleb would have been those would have joined a group of persons that went to scope out the land. And they were the only two that came back out of the bunch that had a good report that says that, listen, we can, in fact, take the land. We're not concerned about, they weren't concerned about the inhabitants there. They weren't concerned about any of the other things that the other persons raised. They were the take charge. This is what God has promised us. This is the promised land that God has carved out just for us. This is his word, and we can inhabit the place. So the Joshua generation, of course, are those persons or the youths or the millennials who are prepared to go forth, possess, and to take over. Now, they're the ones who are unscared, who's unafraid, who are not scared. That phrase is that never scared. They're those that
never scared.
Yeah, never scared. We're going to, whether persons laugh, snicker, whether persons oppose us, etc., we're unafraid. We're going to do the necessary things. So that's when we talk about the Joshua generation. And so your question when you ask whether or not the church is doing a good job to provide a platform for these set of persons, I have mixed emotions in reference to that. We have, just as we have different members in the body of Christ, we have different churches that are at different levels. And so we've got those churches that are basically stuck in the old days, and they're waiting for the old days to come back when they realize that those days are basically past in terms of whether or not we can see those times again. And we're in
Right.
a new era. And while we don't want to lose some of the old traditions, and we don't want to lose some of the things that we're used to and we are founded on, there's still the time when we have to move forward. And gone are the days when, when I used to hear, because it wasn't my time, but when when persons come by, the little children were forced to sit on the table or something like that. I heard that analogy being drawn, and you couldn't really say anything because the older persons were talking. And while that has its place, we cannot discount the fact that young people now have a voice or should have a voice. And so those churches who have not yet come into the era where they have to have platforms where young persons can talk are still there. And then we've got the newer churches, some of them who are trying as much as possible to create areas where the youth can actually come forth and present things. Now, when you're saying whether they've done a good job in providing the platform, you've got churches who have youth groups and vibrant youth groups, and the youth are basically able to speak in those arenas or speak and present things. And so it's a mixture. And to be honest, Apostle, when I was getting ready for this broadcast, I decided to throw this question to a few of my youths, just to get their feedback. And they range from ages 16 to as old as 25, I think it was. If you would permit me, I'd like to read one or two of the responses.
Sure.
Of course, one wasn't
Sure.
sure what the Joshua generation was until I explained it to her. And then one said, nope, y'all too judgmental. That was one response. I'm going to give you, these were candid responses. Okay? Y'all are too judgmental, so no, there's no platform for young people. And some said some churches, but not all. Some are still stuck in the old days, basically what I was saying. And one young lady said, it all depends on the church, because you have some churches where they allow the younger generations to lead and have a voice and opinion on what is going on. They also allow the Joshua generation to bring new ideas and different perspectives,
Right.
etc., that relate to people in the 21st century. And so there was a mixture of responses with regard to that question. And these persons would basically have been in the church and have done things in the church. So there's a mixed emotion with regard to whether or not churches are doing what they need to do.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I mean, that's fair because the thing about it is that when I was growing up, we had to run song service. We had to read the Bible. We had to pray, and so we were an intricate part of the service. But like you say, there's some churches that are doing it, and then there's some churches that are not. Now, what I believe is that on the whole, as the body of Christ, we need to make sure that we are doing we have things set in place, because I feel, Madam Speaker, I've been a youth leader for a long years. I've been a youth leader for maybe 7, 8 years or maybe more. And one of the things that I saw was, let's say, if I went to a church, most times they didn't have a youth, nothing for the youth, and whatever they did was like, it was always just fun, entertainment. Um, where they're able to just, go sit on the side, or sometimes you would notice person have their kids, just while they're in church, they are playing on the game, playing on Nintendo, just to keep them quiet, and we don't realize that this is taken away from the kids. Or if they go in the back, they put on a little cartoon movie, give them some drink and soda. So I've seen a lot of things. And I know that there are other persons that were doing it, but I'm talking about things that I've seen firsthand. I believe that overall, as the body of Christ, I believe we can do a better job.
Yeah.
Because if we look at it, go ahead.
So sorry. Now there are
Okay.
some churches, the two churches that and one that I'm definitely now a part,
Hmm.
where the fine arts, and we'll probably get into
Hmm.
that even later, but fine arts is predominantly or has been predominantly uh, part of the youth arena. It's a good
Right.
segue into letting them be involved. And so you'd
Right.
have there's the fine arts and the dance or mind ministry, where the youths tend to have a greater time, a greater experience, and knowing what it is about church life, and even learning some of depending on if the production under the fine arts is done well, they
Right.
learn something as a result. Not only learn something about themselves, because sometimes that creativeness,
Hmm.
they're able to find something that they're passionate about, but they also learn something
Right.
about the Bible. So those churches that really enforce
Right.
that platform is pretty good. It's
Right.
it's good to in terms of the training that is needed, but sometimes there's growth and improvement when that happens, because that's what the Joshua generation needs. They need training, they need that upgrading, and they need that preaching part of it, and sometimes all of that comes in the lessons that they learn while going through the motions of these different things that they're involved with. So when you have a church
I
that
agree.
does that, um,
Hmm.
it should nowadays. I'd hate to think that churches are still sending kids in the back just to watch cartoons and have nothing in terms of foundation that
Right.
they can really learn about God and so forth.
Okay, I agree. I agree. And that's going to bring us to our next question. Again, if you're tuning in, we want you to please call in. We want you to be a part. Now, with your comments, I won't be able to see your comments until probably after the show tonight. But if you want to call in, please do call in. Let us know that you are watching. And please, if you have a question or comment or there's something that you want to put in, by all means, we want you to be part because this is very important. We're going into 2021, and we don't want just one God's will for our life. We want the will of God for our children's life as well. And so, Madam Speaker, this is awesome. This is really, really awesome. You got me fired up. You got me excited. If you're just tuning in, this is the Freedom Radio broadcast brought to you by Sherilyn Fletcher Ministry. Our topic tonight is the Joshua generation. And Madam Speaker has already broken it down and let folks know, in case you didn't know, what Joshua generation or who them Joshua generation children is. Okay? They're very delicate, awesome group of children, awesome group of people. So let's go to our next question. Why do most people leave their children home from church during the weekdays? Sometimes we take them on Sunday, but Bible study or a little revival, you think that's a good idea? What is your take on that?
Certainly, I see that there's nothing wrong with taking. In fact, it should be encouraged, because sometimes we as adults find it difficult to even conceive that church should be any other day but Sunday. Some persons, unless you are heavily involved in church, most times than not, you think that Sunday is it. I got my feeding on Sunday, and that should carry me for the rest of the week. Wrong. Sometimes there are those occasions when we need to be, or there is something that goes on in church during the weekday. And certainly, I think that your kids should be there with you. Now, the reasons why I've heard, and I know that persons keep their kids home on a given weekday if there's an event, an event going on at church. Okay, there's homework, they have other curricular activities. Um, the service is too long, it's too late, and it may not be something that is relevant for the child itself, him or herself. Those have been the various reasons that persons say that their kids cannot be at church during the weekday. Now, that's been the report. Even before I even asked some of our young people, that has been, what you would ask if you go to midweek or week evening service, and you say, well, yeah, so and so, your child or whatever have you, and the child say, oh, she has homework, oh, they have homework, or they have a sport event or something along those lines. So you have gotten those reports before.
So what is your take on that? How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's a good enough reason, or just for me being a mother, is that something that you would do? Do you think that's a good idea? Maybe they have too much homework, or they got to go to bed to get up on time. What is your take on that?
Now, I'm speaking also from knowing that I've done that before, where the child had X homework to get done. Until like what sense too, because you can do your homework. You can do your homework. Like my daughter, let's say she had homework, and let's say it was a meeting, not necessarily a service, but it was a meeting that was going on, and she came and she went to do her homework at the back. It was a meeting that had nothing to do with her, but there it was. Now, when you talk about an event, I think that the child should be there, especially if you're there, so the child should be there. Now, that's always mixed emotions. Person say, well, I know, but all that, my child need to get up. But sometimes kids are home past the time that the service would have been segmented for, and they're still up. They are still up. In fact, you all are up doing and it has nothing to do with homework. Just up. Sometimes kids, you think you send them to bed, you know what I mean? Especially those kids that have they have access to their phone in the room, or they have a TV in their room. They're up. They're up, and we don't know. Sometimes we fall asleep before them, and they're still up. So if that's going to be the only excuse, and you're using to say, well, listen, my child has to go to I think when we come with some of those excuses, it's so that we're not necessarily bothered. The child is home. You don't necessarily have to pay attention to exactly. You may want your little scoop for that night at that service, and you don't necessarily want to be bothered. And sometimes it doesn't bode well. Okay, because we need to. The kids, of course, need to be able to be there. And to understand what it's all about, because we just never know. They may not necessarily understand every single thing that is said, but there may just be something that they catch during the course of whatever is happening for that evening.
Right. I agree with you. My mom, when I was younger, now this is what she did on Sunday evening. Some Sunday evening, she let us at home and listen to me. We were doing all kind of bad stuff, running outside, looking for boys. You're doing all sorts of things. And when you see the church bus come, you just leave the back door open, and we run inside and lay down as if we didn't do anything. So when the cat's away, the mouse will play. That's it.
Yes.
You'll be surprised what your children doing. You watch movies sometimes, and you see the parents go away, and the children have a big party because kids are going to be kids. And I just really feel like we just need to just stop at the excuses, like you say, because sometimes the kids don't go to bed on time. And if they have a lot of homework, they get off at 3 o'clock. They should have enough time, unless it's really something that is detrimental. They have enough time. Hey, how y'all doing? They have enough time to get their homework done. Or even if you bring them to church, let them do their homework someplace, but they come into church with me. I don't care what they do. They're going to be in the house of the Lord with me. And this is what we do, And I believe it's important, people of God, that we take our children, and you go to Bible study too, like Madam Speaker say, because you won't even go to Bible study. You think you cannot, can you imagine going to church one day a week getting fed, and the enemy has 6 days to play with us? That's a lot. We need to be in the house of the Lord as much as we can to be encouraged. The Bible says, don't forsake the assembling of the brethren, and it's important. we understand that it is very, very important for us to do what is needed to be done so that our children can definitely benefit from what we're doing. This is very good. If you're just tuning in, this is the Freedom Radio broadcast brought to you by Cheryl and Fletcher Ministry. I have with me tonight Sharita Murphy, aka Madam the Speaker. Listen to me, awesome powerful woman of God. She didn't mention that she's an awesome playwright. She's an awesome dancer. When I see her dancing with the young people, I don't even know who is who. So I kind of a little jealous of that. A little jelly there because she moves like she's just moving, and you can't tell if that's her or that's the younger person. And so I want to applaud her. And let me tell you, if you need playwright, listen, James Catlin and friend, watch out, because this woman of God has, great writing skills and writing great. Okay, but to have Mary on trial was like so powerful. It was just so awesome. So what's the name of your church?
Oh, sorry. I just was waiting to catch up. Harvest Discipleship Center, also known as HDC, but Harvest
Yes.
Discipleship Center.
Okay. So you can go on Facebook for Harvest Discipleship Center, and you can
Mhm.
look for that play. I'm telling you, and not only the play, but they have some services, and the pastor's an
Yes,
awesome teacher. That's something
yes,
that there's a lot of people there who's teaching and preaching the word of God. And it's
mhm,
when you truly want to be free, you got to look for the truth. It's the truth,
yes,
people, that is going to set us free. So I just want to
yes,
plug that in there. Shout out to all of the Children's Bread prayer line. Shout out to y'all. Big up. Boop, boop, boop. Glad to have you all on the line tonight. I'm sorry I'm lagging a bit, but I'm traveling. But I'll pray my strength in the Lord, and I just needed to do this program. This is the last Monday. Is it the last Monday? This is the last Monday in December. I
yes,
couldn't let it go down
yes.
like that. The last Monday in 2020. Oh my God, do you believe it? We are almost at the end. Almost at the
Was at
end.
the
Oh
end.
my
Yes,
God.
yes.
It
I think
feels
I saw
good.
my.
God.
I think I saw my. Somebody had on their status. This week is the next year, the next month, something along those lines. Let me see if I can find it. It was just
That's
interesting how
powerful.
they put it. Um, but I know anyway. When I find it, I'll say it.
It's the last week, the first month, the first day, the next year. That is powerful.
Yes,
Wow.
something
One
along
week.
those lines. Something along those lines.
That is awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. If you're tuning in, please share, and like. This is powerful. Now I'm gonna go to our next question, and Madam Speaker, if there's something that, of course, that you feel led to talk about, we just really want to help empower our parents and our young people. We really want them as well. Because back
Mhm.
in the days, God told Moses to teach the children. He told them to teach everyone. Everyone had to be taught. When they
Yes,
fasted, everyone had to fast. The children had to fast. That's another thing. Here's another thing coming up, people.
yes,
During the month of January, you fast. Why aren't your children fasting? Well, some of our kids fast, but you got to teach your children how to fast. You got to teach them how to survive out there.
and
Even if they don't
and
fast all
and
day, they can fast themselves. Go ahead.
yes, and it's it's something because we know that parents aren't necessarily teaching their children to fast. Listen, whenever I've done collaborations with other ministries, right? And we, as let's say the fine arts leaders, and we say, listen, okay, in preparation for the concert or in preparation for the event itself, we will go on a corporate fast as the dance team or the fine arts team. And listen, it's hilarious And yet we have to teach along those lines of how to help our young people, because listen, they are like, I remember there was one time when we were in circles, right? And we were holding hands. Of course, it's pre-COVID, but we're holding hands and we're praying. And after that, we announced about fasting. And we know, as leaders, we're probably going to go the whole day from, let's say, midnight until, let's say the event is 7 o'clock, we're going until 6 or whatever have you. And we say to them, okay, as the younger ones, let's just go from until noon. I remember a couple of them falling like out in the circle. They like literally dropped to the ground. They couldn't believe, what? No eating? What? And it is like a whole production in itself. And we say, okay, there's no eating, and you're going to fast from off of social media or something. Listen, that was those ones who didn't fall out from not eating fell out from not being able to use their phone or their tablet or whatever it was. The same get ready for ministry, and they are like, there were a couple there were few, and it's very few that had no problem with it. Okay, we know about fasting, that's fine. But the majority of them, they couldn't believe we were actually going to really ask them to not eat. They couldn't understand that. And so we know that is something that we're not necessarily teaching our children. We're not necessarily enforcing that. And we're not necessarily telling them or explaining to them the benefits of fasting and why you fast and why it's something that Jesus told his disciples. And if we're going to make disciples of our children and disciples of others, we need to be able to show and say exactly why. And so that's the reason why we should not exclude them from being a part of certain things. When we go back to that previous questions, Apostle, with regard to weekday events, certainly if there's nothing else that we should carve out time for our kids to join us at church, would be prayer and Bible study. It's like the lifeline of our churches. Prayer and Bible study. As leaders in the church, even as an apostle yourself, or a leader, a lead pastor, whatever have you, your leadership should not. And I remember a bishop talking about it before, previous church that I was at. He had a hard time with leaders who would not attend prayer and Bible study. In fact, you couldn't necessarily be a part of the leadership team if you're not actively participating in that segment. Because how can you effectively lead if you're not there for prayer and the Bible study as well? So that's very important. So we need to teach our children certainly the importance of that part of the church.
That's awesome.
But that was just
You're right. No, you are so right. Wow, this is so powerful, because like I said, I got into a lot of mischief when my mom, or whenever she decided to leave me from a Bible study or whatever. And so I agree. We need to make sure, please, parents, make sure that your children are part. I don't care if your church don't have where the different classes, they are divided. They need to come out, and you need to make them pay attention. Here's another thing that I didn't have in there. They need to stand up and lift their hands and open their mouth and sing. They've been coming to church every Sunday. They know the songs by now.
Yes.
You just let them sit there. They have no respect or reverence for God. Let them get their butts up. Their leg can't be tired because they run all around all day. And the thing about it is, the minute church is out, they're running around all around in the yard, the smaller kids, So that's another thing, Madam Speaker, that I see a lot, that our children don't know how to worship God. They don't understand the importance of worship, and they don't understand what it means to lift their hands, and they don't understand what it means. But they know how to do the nay-nay. They know how to do all of that, the stinky legs and all these other dance. I know I must be behind. They know how to do all of them, all the shoe. They know how to do all of it, But when it comes to the church, we let them sit down as if God is dead, as if they're just there, because they don't have a babysitter.
Well, that's because we don't enforce that, Apostle. We don't make them. And persons, we make it sound as though to say we're making them a dirty word. but we make them brush their teeth. We make them brush their teeth. We
Good.
make them go to school. They may not necessarily want to go to school every day, but we make them because we say, okay, this is you have to do this. You know what I mean? And so, but when it comes to the things of God, we make it a choice. We give them a choice. And so, just the other day at church, actually,
Wow.
I got this business. Um, we had church on Sunday, on not Sunday. We had church on Christmas Day, and so they came out, and the kids there were a couple of kids that was out, and they started to fall asleep. And Pastor said, "Wake them up." He said, "Wake them up." If they were home, they would
Yeah.
have been up playing with toys, watching TV, whatever. Wake them up. They had this word. I'm not preaching another word until you wake them up. And one may say, "Oh, that's harsh. That's harsh. You shouldn't do that." But it's true. If they were home, most times they're not. You ever notice how when you don't have to be there, you're alert, awake, alive, attentive, but you could find yourself trying to drift off, and we make it okay that children should sleep in church, and we could find
Uh-huh.
children at very young ages going to sleep in church because we put them to sleep. We hush them so that they don't make noise. We hush them, and so they learn from young that they could sleep in church. You know what I mean? And we make it okay for them to bring their electronics to church. I know that's one of the questions that's coming up, but we make it okay for them to bring their electronics to church and have on something. And we say, okay, they can understand, but there's something that they can get. But that also leads us to a different question too, whether or not, and it's not necessarily for this platform, but whether or not churches are making it or pastors are making it conducive for them to be able to get certain things, but then that's a different subject altogether.
Well, I
But
know at
that
our
has been
church
one of
we have, yes, at our church we have a basket, and during the basket, the young people have to put their phone in there, um, when they're going into classes in the back for Bible study. We make them put their phone in the basket. Of course, some of their parents won't like it. The church people, sometimes they don't cooperate. Like you say, why? That sound harsh. But the thing about it is, what I tell people is, at the end of the day, when the children are acting wayward, oh, can you all please pray for my child? You
My
mean the child
child.
that we were telling you to bring to church? That same child that we were saying that don't leave home? You mean the same
Mhm,
child that you let sit down and sleep in church? And so these are
mhm,
things that we have to be cautious. See, the Bible don't lie, and I am a product of that. I'm telling you, the Bible says, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they are old, they'll not depart. And a lot of people know my story. Okay, I was out there, like out there, way out there, but I had the foundation. I did not depart from what was in me. After a while, I came back to what I know.
mhm,
You understand? I came
mhm,
back to what was already planted on the inside of me. And even
mhm,
though it looked like they're listening and they not, believe me, we heard. You were young and you heard everything that the preacher was saying. You were listening. So this is one of the things that we must make sure, parents, please make sure your children don't take these electronic devices to church, man. That's our next question. They shouldn't be allowed to take it. They got the
no,
watching and they got their ears plug in. Look how Satan got us. My
mhm,
God, from Zion. Back in Athens, I
mhm,
went to church and the crowd was all in the church. They didn't stop the church. They were still worshiping with the crowd walking through. I was like, what? A little girl, I put my legs up, and I was like, I was so scared of these bunch of crowd on the ground.
mhm,
And so they didn't stop the church and say, well, let me get these. They didn't act like those crowds were not there. And there are certain things that we should not divert from, especially some of the foundational stuff. So,
mhm,
I don't believe our kids should be able to carry no type of devices to church. And that's because you don't want them to, you want to get your prayers on. But the thing about it is, if you don't train them up, you could be so busy praying and dealing with them and casting out demons that what could have been done if they were listening to the service, you know?
yeah.
Um,
Mhm,
for me, I had to go up to the altar every time. Every time, Madam Speaker, there was an altar call, and my mommy don't see me at the altar. She used to look back behind and give me the
and you
eye,
know
and
what
I
that
know what that meant. Go to the altar and get prayed for. If we have revival, I had to go to revival every night to get saved. I don't care how. If I got saved the first night, I still get saved the second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth night.
You would say safe.
I was safe. So this is really good. Listen to me. I want y'all to really share this broadcast because there are a lot of parents out there. It really irks me when I hear parents asking their children, "You want to go to church, or you want to stay home, or what do you want to do?" You know, we are the earthly gods. God has put us to watch over these children. How then can we ask them to make a decision where you are the manager, you are the property, not the property, but you are the manager of your children. You are the earthly gods for them. You're supposed to direct them. But so sometimes, like when I used to go pick up kids, you want to go to church? Oh, she said she don't go to church today. And that time I was like, oh my God. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that question I asked, the same phone question I asked, this is how many youths I asked this question. About 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. Let me see. One said, of course not, in terms of allowed to bring phones and play games in church. One said, of course not. Then another said, under no circumstances should they be allowed to have their phones or play games during service. And somebody said no. But here's the interesting from 3 persons. One said, let me see what she said. I don't think that the youth should be on their phones or playing games. However, taking away their phones may be a bit excessive. It shouldn't be a situation where persons are forced to turn in their phones. But I think it's very respectful when persons are attentive and listening to the word as they should. That's one person's answer. So it's 3. There was 3 that was a definite no. And then there's 3 that had some reasons. Allowed, that word doesn't sit well with plenty. When telling someone something isn't allowed, they tend to do it even more. Youths will be on their phones regardless of whether it's allowed or not. I don't think that's something that can be avoided. Also, telling some that will cause them not be interested in coming to church. And the last response was yes. This is a question of whether or not they should be allowed to bring their phones and play. So yes. Don't you have a phone at work and still get work done? Most of us can multitask, listen, and type. Just because we are on our phone doesn't mean we are deaf or not paying attention. That was, I had to read those ones out so that you know where the youth mindset was. There was 3 that was a definite no. And then there were 3 were with explanation or reason. So.
Okay. Well, we want to say hi, Madam Speaker. We have Simone and Mummy watching. Hi, Mummy.
Oh.
I've heard so much about you. Thank you for watching. And to all of you, I want to give a shout out to Shauna, to Cheyenne. I think that's Cheyenne.
Yes, that's Cheyenne.
Koya, Financia, Patrell, Louise, Nuri, Pastor Angela. How are you doing, woman of God? To Rachel, to Ekarina, to Kira, to Dacia, to all of y'all. Sandra, this is just, I put myself in trouble. This is Steve Vaughn, and all of you, and Lisa, who tried to duck me tonight, and Sister Deb, all of you, I want to say thank you so much for tuning in. Listen, this is so awesome, Madam Speaker, really awesome. That you got the feedback from the young people. They're so honest. They're gonna really give it to you like it is.
Candor, they're candid in everything.
Yes, they're just gonna let you have it. Now since we've already answered that question, let's go to this one. What can we as a church do, or as the Church of Jesus Christ do, to get more of our young people to come in? What can we do? Because we noticed that a lot of them are leaving at 18. Why are they leaving at 18? Because they don't have nothing. We didn't teach them a lot of reasons by what we were talking about earlier. No one really made them, or paid attention or make sure that they were an intricate part or lifting their hands and worshiping, which is very important, going to Bible study. So at 18, they don't feel like it's important and they leave, you know? Okay.
The
Mommy
the
and
the
daddy
sad
preaching.
yeah the sad thing about it is is that the world as it is seem to offer more than what the churches appear to be offering.
That's good.
Um, and that is what the lure is. And that's separate and apart from us making it a choice. And that's separate and apart from us not showing them or telling them what it means to praise God, and why. Now I know, and I'm going to go right back into that. But I know when I've said to my daughter, I said, "Listen, Brene, you know this song. Not only do you know the song, you've been coming to church long enough. They have it even, some churches even have it on the teleprompter thing. You have it there, the words are there. So if you weren't singing the right song, the right lyrics before, the words are there. Okay. Not only that, my pastor said it no longer than the other Sunday, if you're a dancer at heart, you know what I mean? You really have no excuse. If the only time that you can dance is when you're up there to perform, is it really just about you to be seen? Because if you're a dancer at heart, you should be able to you should get your groove on when that song, the minute the song starts.
That's
Because,
awesome.
if a car pass and they know a song that is playing, right away they start to get down, right? So why should it be any different if you are not necessarily dancing in the front of the church? You should be dancing even in your seat when the music starts and you're praising the Lord. Okay. So I just need to put that plug in there, because we're not doing necessarily the same thing, but the lure of what's happening on the outside seems to take center fold to what's going on in church. Now, that, of course, when we talk about the various platforms that may not necessarily be there for the youth, it could also be that. Now, I know that some pastors and apostles or teachers, it seems as though, because I've had this discussion with youths before, are you getting what the pastor is saying? And sometimes they're like, no, there's total disconnect. I'm not understanding what they're saying. Sometimes there's a myriad of persons. There's different segments of persons. There are those ones who are watching and listening avidly, and so they would get it. And then there's some who are halfway listening and they're like they're just, okay, that's not for me. Or it seems as if they're preaching more to my parents, they're preaching more to the older folks than it would be to me. And so I'm not necessarily getting it. And so church really isn't something that I want to do. I'm being forced to come. And so when I turn 18 and I have a choice whether or not I want to come, I'm not necessarily sticking around. I'm just going to leave. I can find something else I want to do on a Sunday, unless we get them early. Now, so our efforts really, because Satan really comes after our kids, and he comes after them very, very young. From the television programs to straight up, he tries to get them. He tries to take over the airwaves. That's why the music industry is the way it is. And so he knows how to get them in reference to music. So if we're going to do things that would encourage them to stay in church, and I know you've talked about this before, we don't want to get the youth ministry or the thing so very activity oriented. But if it's going to be an activity, let's say the youth ministry have something that they're doing, it needs to have a real central motive in terms of conversion and salvation, not just necessarily to have a game just for having a game's sake. Okay, we need to be able to enforce the Bible and make it teachable and relatable. I think that there should be certain things like debates. People are very competitive. You make something competitive and they're almost wanting to win. And so if we have programs that are geared toward Bible-based debates, competitions, speech competitions, the fine arts is always a good way to get persons involved. Music, technology, churches need to get out of the 19th, 18th century, 19th century, get involved with putting things on the visual arts, and persons, they're kids and they're young adults who like to do things like that. They're hands on, and so we can get some of those things that the kids can get involved with, the youth can get involved in, and get involved in early. One time ago, we used to have girls and boys brigade. One time ago, we used to have different things like that. That's a lot of that has fallen by the wayside, and some persons, and so it wasn't passed on. I think it was the Ramming brothers or whoever saying who's going to fill those shoes, who's going to take this thing and from one generation to another. You know what I mean? And so there's certain things that we probably need to get back into the church that would fill the void where the world and their attraction shouldn't outweigh and outlive what the church is prepared to do.
That is very good, Madam Speaker. Very, very good. Because I've heard certain singers like Whitney Houston, and I think a few of them who have gone into secular. They all started in the church, but there was no platform for them, and so they end up going out there to the secular world. And if we create a platform for the talents, there's so many talents in the church, like you're saying, so many talents. Our young people are so talented. My 7-year-old baby girl now, when we first adopted her, I was like, when we put her to dance, I was like, oh Lord, this child ain't getting no rhythm. In my mind, I was like, oh Lord, but we could just let her dance, for the glory of God. And Madam Speaker, when I saw her dance for Christmas production, I was shocked. I'm sorry. I was wondering who child this was and where this child come from. I was like, where does child come from? Who is this? And I saw, she was moving, and I was like sitting there so shocked, and this is what you're talking about. You'll be surprised of the talents that these children have. You'll be surprised of what they're capable of doing. We'll be so
Yes.
surprised. So I really agree, and I concur with you. So because there's poetry, they can do spoken
Yes.
word.
Spoken word.
There's so many things. They can work the media. They can work the camera. You'll have children working years on your camera versus somebody who could just pick up and leave. These kids will look at them now. They're loyal. These children, once they're there and you get them, they're very loyal. And so I agree. And when they're 18, they won't depart. They'll stay
They
there.
won't.
I have and thank God, huh?
They won't. They'll have a vested interest in what's going on.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. It'll be good because I I can say with my son and my daughter, who's 25, 23, I think, and 25, somewhere, anyway, somewhere around there. And that's when you have too many kids. And, they stayed in the house. I didn't force them. When they became 18, I didn't force them when they were younger. But I didn't force them to stay. They stayed and they said, I just want to help. And they're helping by God's grace. My 19-year-old is still in church. She loves dance. She want to take it to another level. They're still there because I did what the Bible say. Train up a child in the way they should go. And when they are old, they'll not depart from it. And this is something that we cannot get away from. This is what the Bible is telling us. And when we follow the word of God, we'll see that we'll see that it will manifest. It will. I mean, my God, this is so good, Madam Speaker. I mean, Lord of mercy, I didn't even get to listen. If y'all want to call in, man, please call in. I think that was somebody calling in and I hang up. Oh, Jesus, Lord, forgive me. That's because I'm not. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry, whoever called. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh,
Call back,
Lord.
call
But
back.
anyway, um, oh Lord. But anyway, let's. Oh my God. So I want us to really, if you on this broadcast, please like and share it. Please share it. We really, really, really want our parents and our young people to be equipped because we really want them to know that Jesus is the way, man. They need to know in this world that is so chaotic and everything that is going on, they need to know that there's a foundation. Even if they don't stay, they might suck their teeth, they're hearing what you're saying. That seed is being planted. Now, Madam Speaker, I want to ask this next question. I think this is probably the last question we're going to be able to get tonight. What happened to Sunday school? Do you think that should, I don't.
Boy, Apostle, I remember Sunday school. I remember Sunday school where there was a booklet and each child got a little booklet. And it was, I don't even know when that stopped being the thing, but everybody had a booklet and there were stories, there were activities and so forth and so on. I don't know. I'm trying to think back. I was trying to think back on this question and thinking, when did that stop? The little booklets that we used to have. I don't know where they used to come from. All I know is that was part of Sunday school. It wasn't just the little kids either. There were even, because I grew up at Zion, Eastern Shirley, right? And I remember that we used to get separated into groupings, and even the adults had their little booklets. There was always a leader, and there was a booklet that they had. Now, then we have children. Now I know nowadays there's children's church and church on Saturdays, right? And I don't think there's any books that goes along with these ones now. And forgive me for those churches that actually have books now, but I don't even think they're in even production now. And it's just left up to the children's ministry leader. And if, I guess, he or she is following the dictates of what the overall theme of the church is, maybe that's how it's broken down and taught to children. But with Apostle, and I've spoken about this with you before, what I've noticed is that a lot of, when I speak with the young adults, the various Bible stories, even as the most popular ones, the David and Goliath, maybe some persons, maybe that may be the most popular story, but the Esthers and Joseph, and most persons don't know that there's more than one Joseph in the Bible. Maybe there's Joseph who was Jesus' father. But maybe if you mention, okay, what about the one with the coat? The one of many colors. Oh yeah, yeah. But it's certain things that are missing now. There's certain things that are missing. Our young adults do not know. And sometimes some of the older ones, because their parents gave them a choice as to whether or not they're going to come to church or not, and so they don't know. I know that part of the religious programs when we were in school, certain religious studies covered certain stories, but I think nowadays the curriculum centers around the various different religions, Hinduism and all these other things, but not necessarily certain stories of the Bible now is not necessarily being taught. So those things that used to be covered in Sunday school is lost to certain generations. It's almost sad. It is sad because we don't know anything about the Old Testament. Yes, nothing about the Old Testament and nothing even about a lot of the newer things that's happened in the New Testament. They know Jesus, but some of the things that Jesus did, the parables and so forth, persons don't know. Some of our youths don't know.
Wow, that is sad. The thing about it is, when I was in Sunday school, I remember I was a little girl, maybe 9 or 10, and I tell this story. The way the Sunday school teacher taught the lesson about Dorcas, I thought Dorcas was a whole chapter, a book in the Bible, and she made that picture so clear that as a little girl, when I went home, I began to cry and say, Lord, I want to be like Dorcas. I mean, I was crying, boo, and snot coming down my nose. I want to be like Dorcas because she just made it, oh my God, she sold Dorcas to me, okay? And this is the thing. And so Sunday school is so important. And we need to make sure that Sunday school is back in our churches. It doesn't matter if one person come. We got to do our best to make sure. And if we don't do it, some people do the Tuesday night or the Wednesday night Bible study where the kids are put in different groups, and or where, whatever. Some people have Sabbath school where they go to church on Saturday. The Sunday school on Saturday. On Sunday, Mother's Week, I remember Sunday used to be the Sabbath, okay? You go to church Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Some churches have Sunday the afternoon school, and Sunday night you back your tail back in church. No excuses. But now we have just gotten away from that. There are some things, people of God, some foundational things we need to really reconsider going into the 2021 for our young people. They are the future they're the next generation. They're the ones that are going to take the baton. And if we're giving them a baton that is faulty, or we don't give them the information, then what they're going to do, they're going to invent their own idea of who Jesus is and how the church should be. Because we cannot fail at making sure. Moses, in the Bible, Deuteronomy means second law. After God had killed out the ones 20 and older, he said, Moses, tell them again my law and statutes. Write it upon the tablets of their heart. I want them to know who I am, what I'm asking for. And this is what we need our children to know. We need them to fear and reverence God and reverence his house. They should not be able to come in the house chewing gum, drinking, eating little snacks and stuff in the house of the Lord, in the temple, because you don't know how to control your child. You bring them with this little glad bag of chips, and they got and you leave it just like that. No, we need to make sure that they are being properly taught. It's so important, because when they leave here, when you leave here, people need to know what they need to know what to do. And that's why a lot of our kids turn to drugs. They turn to so many things. They're looking for answers, people, and we're not giving it to them right in the church. We're not provoking them. I don't care if your child is dancing. I'm going to sit down and talk to my children now. Let me tell you, you can't just dance and have your clothes and throw your clothes over your garment. When you put on that garment, that is saying that you are part of the Levitical, honoring that garment that you're putting on. You don't just go up there, do anything, and you could cuss and carry on, and you could listen to Beyonce, and you could do all this stuff, and then you get up there whirling and all that. No, they need to understand the importance of who God is. This is so important. So very important. Madam Speaker, this has been so awesome, man. We got to do this again when I'm in light and when I'm not lying.
Yes, ma'am.
This is an awesome topic, and this must be done again. Hopefully we can do it with a few youth.
Yes.
Okay, get there, because I love them, their opinions. And so I want you to just wrap it up. I want to thank all of you for watching, man. Y'all are so awesome. Y'all 242, my peeps. And my people from Brevard 321 and 407 and wherever y'all from, all of that. We thank God for all of you. We are so grateful. Madam Speaker, I want you to just please wrap it up for me and just give your, I wouldn't like to say last words, but just give your closing argument, prosecutor. Give your closing argument to encouraging words to the parents. I need that prosecutor. You need to bring that prosecutor on here for me, please.
I need her.
Come on here. Yeah. I need her on here. Okay?
Yes. Well,
first of all, words to the parents and the children.
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I'd like to say that our youth do have a very active mind. I don't think they're allowed to share it as much as they need to in a lot of the churches. I'm happy to say that the churches I'm at, they do have a voice, but I think that we kind of discredit a lot of what they would like to share, because oftentimes we think that it's not their place just yet. But if we are carving this out and carving a space and creating a niche that they're able to have a voice and to speak, there's so many things that we can do as a church that can encourage them to be able to share their vision and share their thoughts. When we look back in the Old Testament, kings were as young as 8, and they were just guided along the way by prophets, etc., and priests who were able to show them the way, and they were able to be pleasing to the Lord. And so I think that's what we need to concentrate on as parents. We need to actually sit down and have conversations with our children. We need to share our stories with our children. Sometimes it's very hard for our youth to be able to connect with our parents simply because we make it seem as though we've been saved from birth, when we know there's so many things that would we recognize our kids being involved with or getting involved with. We know that it's from what we used to do when we were kids, but we try to hide it and sweep it under the carpet and pretend as if it's not there, and there's a disconnect. And so sometimes they find other adults who they can easily speak with and speak their minds with. Or sometimes they just find the safety of friends who may not necessarily have their best interests at heart. But I want to say to our youth, sometimes it may not seem as though you have a voice. It may seem as though you cannot connect with your spiritual leaders, et cetera, et cetera. There are times when you just need to write some things down. It could be a poem, it could be a song, it can be something where the Lord actually creates a platform for you. Gone are the days when we just suffer in silence. That's a term that Apostle has said multiple times. We suffer in silence and think that there's nobody that's listening. God is certainly listening. And so I encourage all of us to have an open mind and to pray together and pray for each other so that we can make the church what it needs to be and disciple others to come to Christ. And that's my last words.
That's your closing statement. Okay,
My
Madam
closing statement.
Prosecutor.
Yes, sir.
All right. Listen, that was so powerful, Madam Speaker. I truly enjoyed tonight. This is so exciting. We must do this again. There are so many other things that we need to talk about that our young people, we got to fight for our young people. This is the year, in 2021, it's time for them to arise. It's time for the Joshua generation to take up their place and do what they need to do. And it's time that we prepare them. And you know, and they're loyal. You get a great army rising up, man. If they're for you, they're for you. They're not for you, they can let you know that, you know what, I ain't for that. They let you know. And so I really, really, really pray and desire that anyone that is listening, that if you're a leader, you're a parent, even if you're a young person, I want you to know that you matter. And I want you to know that we can do so much with our young people. We can do so much and helping them and enhancing them to be better, not just in the community, but as a child of God, and teaching them and showing them and guiding them. And so I thank God for your pastor and pastor like yours. And for those of you that maybe not so successful in it, don't take it to heart. You can still get in it and get it done, and let's all work together to make the kingdom of God better. You know, now I'm so sad. Oh my God. This is the last Monday. The next time I'll see you all, it'll be next year by God's spare life. It'll be a whole other. Oh my God. But I thank you. I thank you for every like, every comment. I thank you for those of you that stand and just watch. And I mean, I am so grateful. I appreciate you so much. And I pray that you join us again in 2021 on January 4th. We'll be back. And I pray that you have a blessed and happy new year. Make sure you're in the church now. On the 31st, them services be hot. You know, just go for the chicken sauce and all that other stuff or the breakfast. Go to hear the word of God. And so I thank God. Now this year, y'all ain't get no John Canoe. So them people like who I was, who go to church just to, you know, and wait for John Canoe so they can kill time, you can go to church and get saved for real this time. You know John Canoe to run. Yeah. Amen. And so we give God praise and give him glory. And we Madam, this has been awesome. This has been awesome. Thank all of you from the 242 and everywhere who's been listening. All of you, we thank you. We could not have done it without you. And so we're going to get ready to go. May God bless you. May God keep you. We're going to meet you back here next Monday, same time, same place, same radio station, just a different year. God bless you. See ya. Bye.